All right. Well, I ran across another 3D printer on Craigslist, so I decided to go out as usual and go out, pick it up, inspect it and see what it takes, see if it's decent, see if I can get it printing again, right? And usually when I find something on Craigslist, I'm expecting to go through some troubleshooting or, replace some parts, do some tweaking on it, do some settings, just anything, right? And see what kind of effort and what kind of money it would take to restore a printer, or at least just get it printing again. Well, this time the printer ended up being in excellent condition. You can see this is an Anycubic Vyper, and like I said, it just turned out to be in excellent shape. And this is the first time I messed with anything from Anycubic. I know of them, and I've seen plenty of ads and reviews online, but this is my first hands-on with them. And I picked this up, and it included 4 spools of filament. This spool was in the spool holder. I've already switched it out, and this one, these 3 are unopened. I mean, they're still sealed, and yeah, you can see they're still wrapped. This is from Anycubic. That's their branded filament, white and black, both PLA. This one, the EcoCoo, which this is the first I'm seeing of these also, and I'm assuming that this is PLA plus. It says natural marble, and yeah, this is red. It looks more like orange, but it's red, and it says PLA plus. And it's unopened also. This one, you can see this one's on the spool, and that is all the filament that was used the entire time he had this. And I'm assuming, let's see, looking at the date, they have a batch number on this filament spool. You see 220-12-14. So even if he got this, February, March of 2021, so he must have had this at least a year and a half or so. Yeah, he said he only used it 3 different times, and I was like, well, yeah, whatever. I didn't believe him at first, but I had my doubts, but it turned out it must be right, looking at the amount of filament that was used, and some of that I've already used, right? I did some test prints on it. So he got it and hoping that his kids would get interested in it, and apparently he has a couple of kids, and they showed no interest, and then he got it, and he was on forums and trying to figure out how to calibrate everything, and just gave up on it. And so it's been sitting there. They said they're cleaning house and want to get rid of it, so I just got a good deal. You got to watch out for that stuff sometimes. I'm sure it happened when COVID hit, in 2020, and everybody stayed at home that whole time. And that's actually how I'm finding a lot of my printers. It's guys that try to experiment with them while they're at home all the time, and now they have no interest and they're selling them off. So in your area, just keep an eye out and be patient. Some will pop up like that. So I got home and decided to see how well it would print. And this was the first test print here. And this is the owl that Anycubic usually, it's either on the memory stick, or I downloaded this offline, and I guess this is their standard, right? And it turned out really well. But I'm kind of looking at it, it's kind of hard to see any imperfections with this, because it's that natural marble filament. But overall, if you get it in the right light at the right angle, then you can you can really see some of the detail, but it turned out pretty well. The only thing with this, you know, I don't know the settings off of whatever slicer they're using. You know, I don't know the speed. You know, just don't know anything about it. It just printed off okay. And so I decided to print off some of these calibration cubes, and that way, you know, I put it through, and I use Cura 5.1 or whatever the latest version of it is, and that way I had control over, you know, the settings on it, and they were pretty standard settings. The only difference is one of them I printed off at 80 millimeters per second and one at 100 millimeters per second. And looking at these two, I mean, I've got them mixed up. I don't know which one is which, and I can't tell. They're just identical, right? So at 100, it printed off really well. I was pretty pleased with that. So then I tried the Benchy, and same thing. They printed out really well. There was just some little imperfection down here at the bottom. No big deal. Everything else turned out pretty darn good, and that was at 100. So I decided to do a different filament. Oh, let me back up. When I was doing these cubes, at 80, I know it came out great, and then I switched over to 100, and at first I was getting some major shifts in the Y direction. And so I stopped it short, took a look at it, and just went on the printer, and I tightened up the belts and the rollers all the way around, and that seemed to help a lot. I mean, so far that's about the only thing I've done to the printer, was just tightening the belts and tightening the rollers, and after that the 100 came out just perfect. So then I decided to switch over to a darker filament where I can really see imperfections, everything on everything. And this is PLA carbon fiber. And the interesting thing, there are some, you see a little stringing here on this side, and the funny thing is, on the one's done at 80 and one's done at 100, and the stringing is in the exact same place. I mean, they, once again, like I said, they just look identical. So the printer is actually printing very well. And here was another random piece. This is something that I print off on my other printers. This is using carbon fiber also, carbon fiber PLA, and they just come out fantastic. And there's the printer, and like I said, the only thing I had to do, you know, I just checked the tension on the belts and the rollers going back and forth. 'Cause I knew I could tell when I shoved it all the way back, and then on the back of the bed, you know, I can move it and I can feel it moving up and down a bit. So I went back and tightened the rollers up, and both sides here needed it, but the X was okay. This was just about perfect. So that is the only thing I've had to do with this printer. And I was pretty pleased with this. This is actually a pretty well featured printer, you know. This has a lot of the features that I took the time and upgraded some of my Ender 3s over there that you can see. And there's another one down there. But this Anycubic has it all. I mean, it comes with the dual Z rods there, and you can see you know, the two separate motors. And what I thought was really cool, they have the sensors here on each side. You can see that on the bottom. And so when it comes down, it automatically levels from side to side, and keeps it level. With this one, you can see I added this one to myself on this CR10, but they would move independently. The motors could, right? With this one, I'm sure it probably has the dual. I haven't even looked at the board yet, but my guess is it probably has the two separate Z steppers, so that they're controlled separately. As with this one, it's just using a splitter just off of the single stepper, and one of them the motors themselves can move independently, right? Especially when everything's off, you can just move this thing back and forth if you wanted to. So to combat that, I put a timing belt here in the top, and that's what keeps them in sync. With this one, no need. They're already auto leveled here. And what else? The leveling I really like. This is, you don't see any BL touch or anything like that. This is a pressure sensitive, I guess, on the hot end, and when the nozzle butts up against the bed, that's what senses it, and it goes off and automatically balances the bed there. And the good thing is, see, you can see the bed is just there's no manual adjustment like on this one, right? This one, there's no need for it. So when you go through and cycle it, and it has an option to adjust the Z offset, but so far I've never had to do that. After you run the bed leveling, everything is right on. Well, it's moving on. It has the filament sensor here. There it is. And what else? The belt tensioners on the X and the Y, they're pretty handy. Of course, it came with the metal, the PEI sheet. And I wish it was a dual-sided one. This one is just flat on the bottom, but there's no coating on it, and I just want to see if I'll experiment myself and see if it'll still stick to that smooth side. Of course, it has the touchscreen control here. It's pretty nice, and let me go ahead and turn it on. And it is up and running. So you see with the touch control, and it also has a light. Let's see. Let's go to put on system. No. Prepare. No. Tools. There's the light, so you can see the light turning on and off there. So that's pretty nice. You can have that on when it's printing. I guess my only gripe about this, because I've liked just about everything on this, but it's with the touchscreen here. So far, you can see it has, for print, there's the different files, which that was a little darker, kind of nitpicky, but kind of hard to read sometimes. And back up. The tools to move axis, temperature, speed, light, and motor. And then to prepare, you can do the leveling here, preheat everything, or feed the filament in or out. And the system is just language, voice, and about. So that's it. I mean, it's kind of just covers the basics on what's needed to actually print anything. I myself, I like to use, I like a little more control, right? With Marlin, I guess when you go through, I mean, Anycubic supplies the latest firmware, but you know, it's just a bin file and that's it. But I kind of like control over the Marlin settings in a little more detail. But with this one, you just might not need it, right? With this one, you just pop it open and start printing. But compare this to the TFT 35. So you see, it's not like this. This is an upgraded. This is the TFT, what, 35? But I mean, when you start looking at all this stuff, you know, settings, parameters, I mean, you have total control, just about total control of all your settings, which you don't get on that Anycubic. And it might be kind of nitpicky, but you know, maybe I don't need to tweak this one. It has all the features it needs, and it's printing great, right? So I guess that's the whole point. I don't have to do anything. I can just get in here and start printing. And that's one thing with, I guess that you could say it's a good one for beginners, right? I could tell this is just about like out of the box, right? And it's printing great, minor tweaks. And that's a good thing, right? But I kind of, you know, years and years ago, who knows, 15 years ago, I bought my first one in a kit. And I wanted the kit so that I can put it together myself and see how everything's working and what does what, right? So that's my beginner's experience, and that's the way I like to do it. But if you're looking for one that's just straight out of the box and you can print, this might be the one for you. It seems like it's doing a great job. The biggest task after that is learning your slicing software, because everybody knows it's like you could have a good printer, a good hardware setup, but if you don't know anything about the slicer software, your settings can make or break the print, right? So maybe that's the way to look at this. You can get one of these, get it straight out of the box, start printing, and spend your time learning your slicer or whatever, Cura or whatever you use, and concentrate on that, right? So I guess that is it for this video. I think I got lucky with this find on Craigslist, and keep your eye out. I'll guarantee you there's still some guys out there that are trying to get rid of printers. They decided to try it out, didn't like them, and they're selling them off, right? And that's what happened with this. So keep your eye out. And I guess that's it. So as always, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and watch my next video.